Welcome to the iRogya Wellness Podcast, your quick guide to a healthier life. In each episode, we'll explore practical tips and insights to help you on your journey to optimal health and well-being. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's think about this idea. Uncovering hidden treasures, maybe, from the deep ocean. Things nature's been working on for ages that could, well, really benefit our health.
That concept actually brings us right to our topic today. We've been looking into quite a bit of material about a nutritional supplement called LIMU Original. And our goal here really is pretty simple for this deep dive. We want to pull out the main scientific points, the nutritional facts that are presented in these sources we have. We're looking at what this marine supplement is, what's actually in it, and, based on the science mentioned, how it's supposed to work. So let's just jump in. When we say LIMU Original, what are we actually talking about? Where's it from?
Right. So at its core, it's a nutritional supplement. It comes from the sea. From seaweed. The sources say that the current version uses a blend, specifically of bladderwrack and wakame seaweed.
Okay, bladderwrack and wakame.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is the historical connection. Its origins are apparently tied to how the Tongan culture traditionally used something called LIMU seaweed. And that goes back thousands of years. Wow, okay. So kind of a mix of ancient practice and modern development. How did that switch happen?
Well, the materials describe the modern part starting around the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. A guy named Gary Razor came across this LIMU near Tonga, and through that, he learned about a really key compound inside it, something called fucoidan.
Fucoidan, right.
Exactly. And that discovery, plus the research that followed, led to LIMU Original launching around 2003, according to the sources.
So it sounds like the idea is taking this natural nutrient-packed resource, the seaweed, and making its benefits easier to access, more convenient.
That's pretty much it. Harnessing that sort of oceanic potential, you could say.
Now, you mentioned fucoidan. As we went through the sources, that name definitely popped up a lot. It seems like the main event, almost.
Yeah, that's definitely how it's presented. Fucoidan is positioned as the star player, the really unique thing in the mix.
So scientifically speaking, what is fucoidan?
Okay, so it's defined as a complex carbohydrate. More specifically, it's a sulfated polysaccharide. And you find it naturally in brown seaweeds. The sources also make a point about how it's extracted. They say it's a careful, delicate method.
Why delicate?
To preserve its nutritional properties, apparently. Keep everything intact.
Got it. Okay, this is where the science gets really interesting.
Yep.
What do the studies and reviews mentioned in our sources actually say fucoidan does in the body?
They cover quite a bit. First, immune support. The research pointed to indicates fucoidan can activate different types of immune cells.
Like which ones?
Things like neutrophils, natural killer cells, NK cells, dendritic cells, T cells, macrophages, the body's defense crew. Activating these is described as basically boosting the body's ability to fight things off.
So it kind of ramps up those specific defenses. What else?
It's also really highlighted for its antioxidant effects. Remember those sulfated polysaccharides? Well, they're described as helping to neutralize free radicals. These are those unstable molecules that can damage your cells, cause oxidative stress.
Right, oxidative stress. We hear that term a lot.
Exactly. So by fighting those free radicals, fucoidan is said to help lower that oxidative stress and the inflammation that often goes with it.
And reducing that damage and inflammation that has wider benefits, according to the sources.
Yes. The idea presented is that protecting cells this way could help slow down processes tied to chronic inflammation, aging, maybe even some diseases. The sources also mention a review looking at multiple studies, suggesting fucoidan might have broader therapeutic potential. Things like anti-tumor, antiviral, anticoagulant properties, based on the research looked at.
Interesting. It also seemed to touch on metabolism, cholesterol, glucose.
It did, yeah. The sources suggest it might help support healthy cholesterol levels, specifically keeping them in the normal range, possibly by affecting how cholesterol is absorbed or removed. And for glucose metabolism, there's mention of research showing it can slow down certain enzymes that digest starch, like alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase.
Which would affect how sugar gets into your bloodstream after eating carbs.
Precisely.
And there was something about combining it with vitamin C.
Yes, that was noted too. One source mentioned that fucoidan's antioxidant power seems to get a boost when it's combined with vitamin C, a kind of synergy.
Okay, so fucoidan is clearly presented as a major component. But as you said, LIMU Original isn't just fucoidan. The sources emphasize it's a whole blend.
That's right. Fucoidan might be the star, but there's a whole supporting cast, you could say. A lot of other nutrients.
Like what? What other vitamins are in there?
Vitamins A, C, E, and then a good range of B vitamins. Let's see, B1, which is thiamine, B2 riboflavin, B3 niacin, B5 pantothenic acid, B6 pyridoxine, and B9 folate.
That's a lot of B vitamins.
It is. And the sources briefly link them to their general jobs, vitamin C for immune support, vitamin E for antioxidant benefits, skin, eyes, heart health. And the B vitamins are noted for their huge range of roles: energy, brain function, metabolism, digestion, skin, mood, even making DNA.
Really fundamental stuff. What about minerals?
There's a solid mineral list, too.
Yeah.
Iodine, magnesium, zinc, potassium, calcium, and iron are all mentioned.
And again, linked to key functions.
Yep. Iodine for thyroid and metabolism, magnesium for nerves, muscles, blood pressure, bones, zinc for immune function, wound healing, DNA stuff, potassium for fluid balance, calcium for bones and muscles, iron for carrying oxygen, all crucial.
Definitely sounds comprehensive on the mineral front. Are there other antioxidants besides the fucoidan itself?
Yes. The antioxidant aspect is broader than just fucoidan. The sources keep stressing the importance of fighting free radicals. And they mention that the seaweed extract itself also contains polyphenols.
Ah, okay. Another type of antioxidant.
Right, so it adds to that overall defense shield against cellular damage, as they put it.
We also saw mentions of healthy fats, omega-3s.
Correct. Omega-3 fatty acids are in there, coming directly from the marine source, the seaweed.
Which are known for being anti-inflammatory.
Exactly. The sources highlight that, plus support for heart health, potentially helping with cholesterol, reducing inflammation and brain health too. Things like cognitive function, memory, maybe even some protection against age-related decline.
And getting them from a marine source is key.
That's highlighted, yes. Getting the DHA and EPA directly from seaweed is presented as an advantage compared to some plant sources where your body has to convert them.
Okay. What else rounds out this blend?
Well, there are amino acids mentioned, the basic building blocks for proteins, right? Essential for building and repairing tissues. And they can also become neurotransmitters, so they support brain function too.
Makes sense.
And then finally, the sources mention other beneficial plant compounds, phytonutrients. Specifically, they point back to those polysaccharides in fucoidan again, noting they have other properties besides the ones we already covered, like immunomodulating effects, tweaking the immune system, anti-allergic potential, and even supporting liver health, hepatoprotective effects.
Wow. It really is painted as a complex natural mix. So with all these pieces, how do the sources explain how it all, works inside your body? What's the process?
A really key idea that comes up repeatedly is bioavailability.
Bioavailability, meaning?
Meaning how well your body can actually absorb and use the nutrients you take in. It's not just about what's in the supplement, but what your body can do with it.
Right.
The sources suggest that because these nutrients are from a natural marine source, they're in a form the body sort of recognizes and can easily grab and utilize. Highly available.
So what you take in actually gets put to work effectively. How does that connect back to something like the immune support we talked about?
Well, the description is that once absorbed, components like fucoidan get into the bloodstream and can interact directly with those immune cells, the dendritic cells, NK cells, T cells, macrophages we mentioned earlier. And that interaction is what's said to kind of trigger responses, like stimulating macrophages to release signaling molecules, cytokines, which are part of how the immune system communicates.
Interesting. And I remember seeing something about gut health, too.
Yes, that's mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Fucoidan is noted as having prebiotic activity.
Prebiotic, meaning it feeds the good bacteria.
Essentially, yes. It helps nourish the beneficial bacteria already in your gut, promoting a healthier digestive environment overall. And we know the gut is increasingly seen as central to general health.
And the materials reference specific studies supporting these ideas.
They do, briefly. The sources mention findings from studies that seem to back up concepts like improved immune function, citing one in elderly adults, and anti-inflammatory effects, referencing some research involving colon cancer cells. But the overall message is consistent. Research is promising, but it's definitely an ongoing area of study.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. Based on everything in these sources, what makes LIMU Original stand out? What's its unique selling point, according to the material?
The way it's framed is often as a superfood from the sea. I think its main distinction is that specific combination of nutrients, especially the concentrated fucoidan from those particular seaweeds, together with that wide array of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, omega-3s, amino acids. It's a mix you don't typically find all in one place like that.
So it's the synergy, really, from that specific marine source.
Precisely. And that emphasis on high bioavailability is also a key point. They make the idea that your body can actually use these nutrients efficiently.
Right.
And the focus on cellular health through that combined antioxidant and anti-inflammatory action of everything in there is presented as a core benefit.
Okay. And finally, the sources did touch on safety and things to consider. What did they lay out there?
Yeah, looking strictly at what was provided, it states there are generally no known serious side effects. Mild upset stomach is mentioned as a possibility, though.
Pretty standard for supplements sometimes.
Right. And to minimize any risk, they emphasize following the recommended dose, which is listed as 2 to 4 fluid ounces daily. The sources also just neutrally point out potential interactions. If someone is taking certain medications, diuretics, blood thinners like warfarin were mentioned, or has specific health conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney disease.
They should talk to their doctor.
Exactly. Consulting a healthcare professional is advised in those cases.
And allergies, naturally.
Yes, that's noted too. If you know you're allergic to any ingredient, seaweed, obviously, but also mango, apple, or pear, which are listed as being in there, then you should avoid it. It's just part of understanding the full picture from the sources provided.
Okay, well, that seems to cover our deep dive into the science and the nutrients of LIMU Original, as presented in the materials we looked at. We went from its marine origins and Tongan connection, really unpacked the science around fucoidan, its immune effects, antioxidant power, metabolic links, and then detailed that whole supporting cast. The vitamins, minerals, omega-3s, and everything else. Plus, how the sources say it all works together through bioavailability and cellular interactions.
Yeah, understanding that whole blend of marine nutrients and the potential functions highlighted by the science discussed, it definitely creates a picture of how this sea-sourced product is presented as a way to support overall health and, vitality.
Thinking about everything we've discussed, that intricate fucoidan molecule, the spectrum of vitamins, minerals, the essential fats, all coming from this ancient, rich part of our planet.
Yeah.
It really does make you wonder, doesn't it, about the incredible complexity and maybe untapped potential still sitting there in nature's toolkit, especially under the ocean surface.
Thanks for tuning in to the iRogaya Wellness Podcast. Remember, small steps lead to big changes. If you're curious about the products we mentioned today, you can find them all at irogaya.com. That's AIROGYA.com. And hey, use the code IROGYA15 at checkout for a 15% off discount. Please note that the code is not applicable for Europe, some parts of the Middle East, and South Africa. Until next time, keep taking those steps towards a healthier you.